here's our little B&B. We'll just take everything with us. No. Bad. Excuse me. Bathroom. And there's a cute little, you can open the door here and go on the little balcony and sit.
But I'll tell you more about that once you see the amphitheatre where they folks, you know, it's a bit of a fallacy what we get from the movies, where fight ends always with the death of the gladiator. We know absolutely it was not like that. Gladiators are a big investment for their owners. Just imagine, you are an Lanista, owner of gladiators. You make your money by buying these guys, these slaves, training them, feeding them, and renting them. Whereas the large one was an outdoor theatre, and they would protect people from the heat with the awnings, with the curtains. This one had roof on top, roof which had to be made by those big pine trees which we saw before, wooden beams coming from those trees. Let's go to see it inside. This is Pompeii to me, but I'll tell you about the roads, the streets in a second.
How long does it take to, because you can hike up Mount Vesuvius, right?
Well, first you'd have to drive there somehow with a car, with a taxi up to a certain point, and then I'd say from where they drop you off, it's a 2-hour visit.
Okay.
A theatre for yourself.
Beautiful.
The theatre for the dignitaries at the top. The large theatre has 4 kinds of seats. Here we only find 2. Andrew, see? There's these low seats, the first 4 steps for the VIP. Of course, they would not be sitting on the stone, they would have a chair called Cellium. And why is this for the dignitaries? Well, you have the best view. You're facing the orchestra where the choir, the chorus would have been, and that would have been the stage. And this is where the acoustic starts from. For the entire population. Something like more than 4,000 people could fit in here.
Wow.
Pompeii had 12,000 inhabitants. A theatre, a third of the size of the population. It's a lot. In the small one, we would imagine doing more Greek tragedy. That was more for the high social classes. Poetry, lyrics, comedy here, which was more appealing for the rest of the population. But still, you find a different kind of seats. But here we have 4 sections. The low for the VIP, middle class, poor and slaves right at the top, and Melissa. Big stones. They are tall in the middle, and lower to the side. So, why is it lower to the side? Not only when it rains, even the fountains I'll show to you soon, they had fresh running water coming out of the fountains 24/7 to wash the streets. Why do you have to wash them? Animals are passing by, and people. Not everyone had a toilet. Many had buckets. So water comes out, wash the streets. That's why basically you have 2 drains on the 2 sides of the road. And look at the sidewalk. It's always kind of sloping to the side, and quickly we find a groove, a gutter. So water will just go down to the side, and this part here would not be as wet. And fast forward right here. Like nowadays, the big fancy ones, and then the small guy, the small place that makes one good, but that would be his speciality. Marble was expensive, How does this guy afford marble? Scraps.
He was a fancy fast food restaurant?
No, they usually have many of them. They have these.
Oh.
What I'm trying to say, these are just, they will not cost much because of the leftovers, you know,
Gotcha.
scraps. And what is that? Guys, that's not the ancient statue anymore. It's a plaster cast. The statues were made of wood. Wood gets covered by ashes. The ashes will sediment, they harden themselves. The wood will decompose, and so it leaves an empty space, a vacuum underground with the shape of what was there. They started digging in 1748, but in 1863, this Neapolitan archaeologist had this great intuition of filling up such vacuums. You would inject liquid plaster inside, and you get the shape of what was there. So that's no longer the statue, it's the shape of it. But think, if this guy had not had the intuition of doing these vacuums, we would have nothing now. Temple which has been painted by means of diagonal lines to give that 3D feeling. What's great with that? Nothing. Apart from the fact that for 1,400 years after Romans, perspective went lost. We've got to wait to the Italian Renaissance to see 3D appear again. For 1,400 years they were drawn like my daughter draw, flat on 2D. And Romans had 3D already. To me, the artist, you know, he was not only trying to give depth to the single composition. When the colours had to be so vivid, looking from the beginning of the garden, this would have to appear as a kind of a window, beyond of which I would see the temple, behind of which I see in the background those trees, painted by blurring, fade in the edges. Think of the Mona Lisa, done by Leonardo. Behind the Mona Lisa, check that out later on, and see if it's right or not. He paints a feeling of mist, of dampness, to give depth. Depth not only given by diagonal lines, but by painting that kind of air, that fog. Sufficient elements to see and hear the ancient story written by Ovid, the Roman writer. Many are Greek copies. This is the story of Diana, Artemis for the Greeks, goddess of hunting, and Actaeon, a hunter. Diana had just finished hunting that day. She enters a cave, takes her clothes off, ready to bathe. Actaeon had just finished hunting too, and he enters the same cave where he sees Diana, naked. No way, a human should not dare of looking at a naked goddess. So Diana does what? Instead of killing him, she splashes his face with water and challenges him. Actaeon, let me see if you're able to tell anyone that you have just seen me naked. Actaeon, frightened, runs away. But while he's running, he says, oh, that's strange, I'm faster than what I usually am. Until he feels thirsty, and he stops to drink at the pond. In that moment, he sees his reflection. He understands why he was faster. He understands what she meant by challenging him. Let me see if you can tell anyone. She has transformed him into a deer. Like that, he will not be able to tell anyone he saw Diana naked. But the story does not end yet. Actaeon was hunting with his dogs, who now they don't recognize him anymore. And that's the final moment in which they reach him, assault him, and kill him. Oh. The artist there shows him as a human again to give us an idea of who he is, but he still has the horns on his head. So I've given you the shortest version I could think of, really, to make the long story short, but just imagine once again, there's someone reading the stories, entertaining.
Wow, yeah.
Ovid, he writes this collection of stories called Metamorphosis. Guys, I would suggest that nighttime, 1 hour, it's like watching 3 or 4 movies. No advertising in, and really thrilling. Bedroom, possibly, well, why not? We do believe of the owner for the beauty of the decoration. The mosaic there is shown you as if it was a carpet, where the bed would have been. And look at this mosaic. Not this technique which we have seen in the previous room called tessellatum, tiles of 5-6 millimeters. Look how small those pixels are, I should say. Jeez. Tiles of a few millimeters per side. Vermiculatum, worm mosaic. Why worm? Because it looks like worms moving. That's to say, it's distinguishing it from this which is statical and geometrical from that which seems to be much more dynamic. That is the concept of pixel. Smaller dots, HD images. The eyebrows of the lady are done with tiles of 1 millimeter per side. Huh.
Wow.
Bones, we would possibly exclude the genetic family of the owner. Those who work in the house, the slaves. Something like, well, in total 14 bodies. 12 were found around here. 3 bodies were found in here, and next to them a shovel and an axe. And the other 9 were found here. Come to see.
So
right here.
People doing the renovation.
I'll tell you what they were doing. The other 9 bodies were found here at 8 feet height. What's going on? Mount Vesuvius explodes.
Get to higher ground.
They go back in. Why?
To grab their valuables.
The ashes.
The first hours, before they start grabbing the valuables, that's a good thing, because we do find them usually next to the bodies of the people who are running away. Of course, you've got to run away, grab the valuables. And we always find money, jewellery, or statues of divinities with them. In front of something bigger than you try to grasp to faith. What's going on here instead? It's what more than likely every single person did as a first reaction. You hear this huge explosion, you open your front door, you see stones falling from the sky, you do not have a clue of what the hell is going on, you do not know what your option is, you just shut the door and go back in. And you're waiting for it to stop. Many are waiting, hours are passing, they understand it's not stopping, and they decide to go away. These were still in. When more than likely, the roof collapsed and jammed the door. That's why they decide to do a hole. They're trying to break out. Why? Would have been easier just digging where the door was. Well, they think that as they lived in this house and they know there was no roof here, they find nothing jamming this entrance if they do a hole. So they dig the hole. They do find 8 feet of ashes. Those 8 feet had made the roof collapse. They do a little tunnel. 9 of them are out. They're waiting for the other 3, and they all died. What? The pyroclastic flow, the heat waves. People in town will die mainly for 2 reasons. Asphyxiated in the first hours, but what kills most of them, it's the pyroclastic flow. Boiling hot heat waves which will start to come out of the volcano quite a few hours after the beginning. Temperature, 1000 Fahrenheit degrees.
Jeez.
The human body at that temperature dies instantly.
Is that why some of the people are...
That is why some of the people are found in a position which I would define non-protective. Caught by death without even realizing that.
Wow.
You get a high five for that.
Yeah.
Because really it's true, when we see the bodies, you can tell, usually, by the position how they died. Those who are dying by gases and ashes, you can tell they are struggling with death. They are doing something. They are reacting to death. Those who die by heat wave, they have not even realized they died. The strange thing is what? The first heat wave will fall, we believe, the morning of the day after, many hours later. What are these people still doing in their houses? That's what I just said. They do not know what's going on, so just decide to stay in.
Right.
That's not the only house where you find a hole. And we always find bodies next to these holes. They kind of never succeed. These who are doing the holes, why? Because they are waiting too long.
Yeah.
So they're assuming whatever it is going to pass, so they just go back into their
you're
home.
praying for it to pass, and then at a certain point, definitely many will start to go away. And that would have been the only chance to survive. Running away in the first hours. You would have managed to go far away before the heat waves arrived. In critical conditions, of course. The earth is trembling, people are panicking, stones are falling, ashes, you got to cover your mouth and nose, you got to shelter. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But he would have had a chance, but staying in town would condemn you to death. The house, by the way, continues down here. Other rooms. Who will live here? The slaves. See, thin plaster, no decoration, and the stable was right behind here. And 2 skeletons of dogs were found in there. Those are the ancient pots and folders which would contain wine, oil, dried fruit, legumes, the goods which were stored in the house.
Nice. So this guy's house, he must have been the most important person here.
He
Possibly.
was related, we believe this family was related to this woman called Pompeii, who had been second wife of Emperor Nero.
Okay.
And nowadays, if you visit the house of someone related to the president, you definitely have high expectations from it.
Right.
And this room, which is the biggest room ever found in Pompeii, it's bigger than my flat.
Is it a pool? It'd be cool if it was a pool.
That underneath, guys, is an ancient house. They built this house on top of an old one.
Oh, wow.
Pompeii was 700 years old when it got buried. Pompeii was founded in the 7th century BC. When a town lives for so long, it's made of layers. Do you like lasagna, Melissa?
Oh, yes.
That's what Pompeii is, it's a lasagna. Layers, house on top of houses.
Wow.
When this house got excavated, that was not visible. This is something which has been identified and showed to us.
So how much older is this other house?
Well, by analysis done on the painting style, which having the wall in the center painted with a rough imitation of marble tiles, that was the fashion between the year 200 and 80 before Christ. Pompeii gets buried in 79 AD, that's from 160 to 250 years old. Wow. The painting style, it's like going to my house or my grandmother's house nowadays. You can tell my house, I did it 5 years ago, grey colours, red LED lightning. So my grandmother's house, which she did 60 years ago. So by the painting style, by the fashion, you can determine when something was built. What room was this? The dining room. The main dining room of the house. But how they ate, I will not tell you now. I'd like to show you that later on in another house. But just imagine, as you're in here, having your nice meal, turn around please, with what the architect did. The distance between the columns is regular, except in front of this room. There's a wall all the way around the garden, except here. So I just sitting in there, or doing something else. Lying down, I'll tell you about that later on. Eating, you'd be facing the garden, having this great view. You have this great view on the outside. Nothing is jamming your view. To give you that feeling of eating outdoor in even better conditions, because here, this huge volume keeps the room nice and cool. That is the shrine for the household gods.
Perché la tua collega l'altra volta io mi ero messa qua e l'avevo fatto già mi aveva detto no, però stanno bloccati sì, lo so allora seconda
Guys, once you reach the so-called paleo soil, the ancient soil, the ancient ground level, you would find a hole where the plants used to be. When the plants would decompose, they would leave a vacuum. And so when it's a vine, we find a double hole. One of the vine decomposing, one bigger of the stick holding it. That's why they planted vines again.
They Can you see that? The same way?
Yes. Can you see that big pot? Right in between the vines there. That is an ancient one. That usually would be kept underground, only with the edge sticking out. That is where you would age your wine. Why underground? The reason why you put wine in cellars. Temperature's cooler, but more important, it's constant.
Yeah.
And then that painting. That's a shrine. Snakes, we find them frequently on their shrines. Snake is a positive symbol of the Roman world. A symbol of vitality. Agato, demon snakes, we define them. That's to say, good spirits. Snakes do what? Apart from biting and poisonous, they also change skin.
Oh, change skin.
You know? New life that comes out of old life. Something which is becoming older becomes young again. It's a symbol of vitality. We have been taught in the Western Christian world it's the evil animal. But it's not like that for everyone. Not only dead chronically, still nowadays, in India. Certain South American cultures, the snake is a positive symbol. But even in our world, actually, if you think about it, what is the symbol, the icons of hospitals, pharmacies?
Oh, the double snake.
Yes, the staff with the serpents around.
Yeah.
The staff of Aesculapius, god of medicine and healing. Snake was a positive symbol. And in that case, it's going towards an egg, which also is what? The symbol of birth, new life. We find eggs on Roman tombs. That's wishing you the new life, the new birth. And now that is of the body. But the bones, of course, are still inside, yes.
Still on there.
Quite sad, dramatic.
No,
the bones does not give us the detail, the data that we see in here. The bones may not be able to give the size of the entire body. It's like this, you do. You can clearly distinguish the adults from the child. Small child there, you can even see a bit of the skull there in the back.
Yeah.
Look at this one. Look how he died. You know, the heat wave is coming down, that's instantaneous. It acts like a kind of a snow avalanche, you know, but a hot one, actually. It seals your body into that position. That's death by heat wave, you know.
Yeah.
You can tell it's not literally, it's kind of protecting. That's an instant which you're still looking at the others. Of course, the body then, in this case, of the sport, the small kids get pushed down. That person there does seem was trying to still do something, cover his mouth, and now see the hands going a bit towards the top, trying to protect. Seems actually has something in the hand to protect, trying to not to inhale the ashes, which, however, are filling the atmosphere. This is what you would find, yes, if you Google the word Pompei, the plaster cast. Of these tombs belong to liberti, freedmen. Freedman means someone who had been a slave in his life. but I would say Roman slavery, we should give it a different name. You could be born a slave, you could be turned into a slave, but there's more than likely a way out. After so many years of service for your owner, he would be grateful to you and give you your freedom. And with your freedom, you're maybe getting some money too, some prizes. And many of these do manage to make success. I always say the freedom and Roman world is kind of our burgundy nowadays. And the slaves do nothing else than working class conditions. The worst thing in those days is not even being a slave. It's being a humilio, Latin name which means the most humble ones. Free citizens, those who starve, who don't have a house. This is the tomb of Publius Vesonius Iuli Libertus. Remember the inscription we saw in the beginning? Caius Quintus Valgus CF, F filio, son of. Here we see the L, not the F. Freedman of. He got the name of his owner. He had been Augustalis, a priest dedicated to the cult of the emperor. Only freedmen can become these priests dedicated to the cult of the emperor, who became a divinity too. Why only freedmen? They are aware of this new rich social class. You're not letting them into the senator's level, so you have artificially created a new social class. May he never be received by the underworld gods or by the gods of the ancestors. His soul has just got to wander for the eternity, you know? Not in paradise, not even in hell. Just got to wander for the eternity. You know, cemeteries then were lively places. See, they're not dark, spooky places. Still nowadays, Italian cemeteries are monumental places. Guys, that's an advertisement. Mentioning gladiator games that they would have done in the amphitheatre. Gladiator, 10, 20 pairs of gladiators on someone's tomb. Because, see, there's a road here. People will be passing by. It's the entrance to the town. The merchants will be going in. But moreover, the people of Pompeii, as they come out of the town, they will see your tomb. Look, the tombs on the right side are more sumptuous than those there. It's a matter of visibility. You're not totally putting your tomb outside any gate. First of all, you want a busy gate. 2, you want a position. You want the best position is this, because the Pompeians, as they come out, they will see your tomb before that.
Yeah.
Guys, it may sound stupid. My grandmother, in our family chapel, she has already told us, been saying that for years. We've got to move my grandfather from where he is. We've got to put him to the top, because she wants to be there when she dies. She says, because he put me there on top, no one gave me flowers. It's that matter of visibility. The biggest tomb ever found in Pompeii. Position of ladies was changing in their society too. The biggest tomb of Pompeii belonged to Eumachia. Public priestess, well, maybe her husband or her father built it. No, Sibi et suis, for herself and for her family. And that would have statues on top. Reading the diaries of the excavations, we do find traces, elements of broken statues which are falling from there. Other big tomb of who? Freedmen. P, Travis PL. Publius Fabius, freedman of Publius. His tomb is facing the entrance, the exit of the town. This tomb is bigger, better visibility than the second tomb on the left, which belongs to a mayor. This guy had been a slave his life. He makes more success than that guy there.
Wow.
And then you find these small stones, just a cheaper way. A small stone shaped with a head. For who? For your slaves. Slaves, they are part of the familia. So that's the saying, better being a slave for a rich guy than being one who starves. One who starves, you just dump the body on the outside. Or incineration, put the ashes in an urn, lean it against the wall, carve the name on the wall. At least like this, they even get a place where they will be buried.
So this guy was freed and then he also had slaves.
Yes, of course.
Oh, wow.
The slaves really forget that concept. Let's call it a different name. And it would be easier to understand, you know. It's working class conditions, I would say.
Yeah.
It's not a really bad thing in most of the cases being a slave. It's like working for someone. And if you think about 100 years ago, I mean, owners of certain activities, in certain ways, you're still determining the life of the ones who are working for you. But that was only for gladiators. This is
The chariots?
true for free citizens to work out. It is next to the amphitheatre, but that's only a chance, simply because that's the only space of the town where they had white spaces to do so. The gladiators were not trained here. This is the one for the juvenes, the young boys, sons of free citizens. This is where they would come to work out. Doing what? Running, Greco-Roman fight, that kind of wrestling. We still have it at the Olympic Games, the real wrestling. Not the WWE. Sorry, just in case, like, no, I used to enjoy that too. And what else? Swimming. That in the centre, Melissa, is a swim pool. The Natatio, where that fence is. Swim pool though, which in the Roman world, does not represent that concept we have of it of luxury and relax. It's a place where you go to work out. Rich people at home, like the house we saw, they did not have a swim pool to show luxury. They had baths, a spa. Swim pool represents more that idea of sport. And simply, like the other one, open space for these outdoor physical activities. But they would give a bit of shade to the athletes with what? These depressions contain casts made of cement of the roots of the trees that used to be there. That's why they planted these sycamores again, to show us the way it looks like. They had trees on the three sides, south, west, north. Well, not at east. Why? East, that's where sun rays in the morning. It's not that hot, you know. But here you are given shade to the athletes, except in the centre, where of course the swim pool is. Other towns to watch the games. We know that. We know that by historical sources. Here we have the certainty because we even know of a big fight that broke out in year 59 between the people of Pompei and those who came from
I read
Italia.
about that.
Another town, yes. Hooligans. Tacitus writes about that. He says they started teasing each other, then they started to insult, then they started throwing stones, and in the end, knives came out. And many people of Luceria, says Tacitus, they never went back home that day. An euphemism to say they got killed. So big was that fight that the Senate of Rome took care of what had happened, and they closed the amphitheatre down for 10 years. They disqualified it for 10 years.
Wow.
However, in the year 62, 3 years after the fight, Pompei gets struck by that huge earthquake. The town gets seriously damaged. So Nero was the emperor. To keep high the morale of the people, he decides to reopen the amphitheatre after only 3 years. Thanks to many ancient writings, they would grow fish in here. When you find these holes in such channels, they're usually done on purpose to simulate the fish to go to lay their eggs. Like that. We know rich houses would be growing their favourite kind of fishes. Yes. I really mean, think of doing this column, you know. You've got to extract a huge marble block from north of Italy. From that big marble block, now you've got to make smaller tiles. And they have got to be, and they are the same size. They differ 1-2 millimeters. Think of doing this kind of work. These reliefs, you know, they would have looked just as nice without that, but no, they go for such details. To make this relief, to make that, it means you've got to take all of this and all of this off.
Oh wow.
You know, it's much more than what it just looks like. The work in there. And do a mistake, chip it. You've had it, you can't glue it, you got to start all over again. Or you can make a smaller column, but that will oblige you to make all of them again. So that would not, it's not going to happen. See the paintings, like we saw in the house before, they look pretty much the same four colours, the same layout. This was the fashion of the last years. Most of the houses had the same kind of painting style because before the eruption there had been many earthquakes. 9 out of 10, as they're restoring, they're using the fashion of the moment.
Right.
You know, we find this kind of homogeneous painting style because people are restoring their house at the same time. You know, with power towns nowadays, they get suddenly plagued by an eruption. Of course, you find different painting styles. But if before the eruption you have many earthquakes, we would be restoring our houses 9 out of 10. I'm sure we'd be using something more modern, bits more minimal, and therefore we find the same kind of painting style. That colour from Syria, from Afghanistan. In that historical moment, it was still quite expensive. And look at that painting. Can you see there's a boat? You see that, Melissa? And if you step a bit backwards, you'll be able to see under the boat an animal. What animal is that?
Is it a crocodile?
Yes, it is.
It is a crocodile.
Have you ever seen crocodiles in Italy?
No.
Even that boat, these, oh yes, that's right. No, not in Italy.
Or alligators, not really crocodiles.
Yes.
There's some crocodiles there in the farms.
That is a Nilotic scene. Paintings of the Egyptian world, of the River Nile. You know, we find that in rich houses. We find crocodiles, hippos. You even find painting of men, objectively guys, with dark skin. So think about it. Someone who goes for the very first time to another part of the world and you start seeing different looking people and animals, you're bringing that and painting it into your world. And we find that in rich houses. I'm not saying you show that, as many say, they have travelled. At least you're educated enough to be aware of the existence of different looking people and animals. So called water with the blue colour. It does give us that feeling of freshness indeed. And just imagine, the water would be there, sunshine is coming in through the window, the water's moving, you get the reflection of the water on the colour tiles of the mosaic.
For the shells?
Water, yes. Shells, yes. In the house before we saw the trident, we saw the dolphin, in this case seashells. You always find a decoration typical of the water, of the scene.
Wow.
Just imagine, picture yourself in here 2,000 years ago.
Do they do just one at a time though?
No, you fix more than a person here. I mean,
Probably
well, this
six.
last 6, 7 years. But this is really open to rich clients, so we'd imagine rented it privately, you know.
Right.
Body heat is the best way of keeping it warm in the winter time, you know. So just put the bed in there, and that's basically what you would be doing. Painting, I mentioned before, perspective. There's still a bit of perspective in here, but it's moving towards a world of fantasy. That's to say, look at those columns. They are too thin and too tall. Realistically, they'll never be able to hold the weight of that which was on top. In Pompeii, we do distinguish indeed 4 different painting styles. The first painting style was the one before the Roman arrived, which is in the house we saw before, in the underground. The underground floor, the wall in the middle, you do a rough imitation of marble. The second painting style, 100 years before Pompei got married, is the one where we saw the Venus. That consists of realism, deepness. This is, we call it the third one. It's moving away from a world of realism and it moves towards a world of fantasy. We call this fantastic. The painting style of the last years is what we have been seeing so far, see? The 3 sections with basically one single colour in the middle. There are some little paintings, but there's not as many details as you find previously, or think in the Venus we saw before, even more detailed. Just like nowadays. It's like when we look at photos. You can tell by the photos when we took them. If it was the 80s, if it was the 90s, the way we dress, by the colours. Same thing we can do with their painting style. So most of the houses have this fashion. Now and again we find previous ones where after the earthquakes you decided maybe not to do a new one, but just restore what you already had. And you see the old painting style, that of realism, especially in this big living room. Look at this.
Wow.
Look at those 3 men on the right side. The one with the white and red tunic. You can kiss the drapes of the tunic. Look at his right foot. Can you see the shadow which the artist has painted?
Yeah.
And if you look between his right and left foot, you'd see a darker shadow to give the feeling that the left leg is in front of the right one. Look at this imitation of marble, a realistic imitation. That white band that goes all the way around, especially there on the left side, gives us the feeling it's coming out of the wall. Is that true?
Yeah.
It gives a feeling, looks like in relief. I do imagine someone 2,000 years ago actually tried to lean their elbow on it, you know, to find out. It's just a 3D painting. That curtain on the top. What colour is it, Andrew?
And red?
White, red and black.
Yeah.
Red is the curtain, white is the light and black is the shadow.
Right.
The 3D feeling which is so realistic. The chariot in that black band. Easy peasy, a cube. How do you draw a cube? You draw a square, you draw another one and join the corners. Yes, easy, but no one did that anymore. And this, again, was not the fashion of the last years. It was the fashion 80, 90 years before Pompei got buried. We already had that 3D feeling. And then everything is decorated. The floor too. And the ceiling. You would have not seen the bare wooden beams in houses of rich people. You would have a ceiling which was done by plastering straws together. You know straws you just find on the river? You plaster them, cheap, light, and you go to decorate the ceiling too. Many houses in the countryside in Italy still have that kind of ceiling by plastering straws together. The ceiling would have been decorated too. Oops. And the garden. Check this. 2 long water channels. Now, it's the second house in the row where we see a water channel in the garden. We do not find such a channel in every single house. We find it only in the houses where we find Egyptian symbols. Remember before the crocodile? Look at the second statue on the left. What is that?
Oh,
Where?
the Sphinx.
Oh.
Have you ever been to Egypt?
No.
How do you know it's a Sphinx?
I know what a Sphinx is.
You saw it on the internet, you saw it on TV, you studied it, you read it. Think with guys of 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
People don't have a clue of what that is, you know. So again, you're showing that you know this world. And in the house where we find such symbols, we find such long water channel, like in the house of Julia. We do believe the channel itself, it's the symbolism of the River Nile.
Because they went there and they wanted to bring it back.
And they know the fertility of the Nile. Fertility is something which is really dear as a symbolism to the Romans. That, where the water came out, is the base of a pyramid. And if you imagine the water coming out from that base of a pyramid, as it's falling down, it is creating the rest of the shape of it.
Yeah.
Nilotic world. Well, a few years ago,
that's really
ethnic
cool.
style was quite the fashion too in our world too, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, guys, these statues are just copies now. The originals are kept in the museum. See, even the hunting scene in lion, an antelope lion, we don't have these animals in Italy. The artist has painted them in a black frame as if it was a space-time window onto another culture. Through this window, I'm looking on Egyptian gods. Christianity became a political problem. As far as it was religious, it was not a big deal. The merchants of Alexandria of Egypt, they created a place of cult for their goddess in town. And when you trade in goods, Pompeii was a busy economic center. You trade in cultures, ideas too, you know. And then this. Give it a guess. What was this room for? Let me help you. It's not what it looks like. That just made things harder, certainly.
So this is not like a shrine area?
Who knows? But it is. It's the dining room. The dining room is made of usually wooden beds. When it's indoor, the room will just so. Possibly would have been the big dining room. But houses which have a nice garden will have an outdoor dining room. In such case, you make the beds in masonry. Usually, they would have 3 beds. The Roman dining room is called triclinium. 3 beds. Usually find 1, 2, and 3 beds. In this case, it's 2. Why beds? Romans ate like us guys, sitting down. But when they have a party, they eat on the Greek fashion, lying on couches.
Yeah.
Any film you've seen with Romans, how do they show us the Romans eating? They always have grapes in their hand.
Yeah.
Even if they're Britain, you know, they always have grapes with them. As if in Italy we eat spaghetti every single day. The Romans always have grapes with them in the movies. And they're eating lying down. Like this, Andrew. Elbow at the top, feet towards the bottom. You're lying down this way. Lean on your left elbow, Melissa. Dish in your left hand. And you're eating with your right fingers. No forks. They have ligulae, spoons for liquids. If it's for solid, using your fingers. And just imagine, you 2 guys have been invited by Octavius, the owner of this house. You're lying outside here. Well, it's hot. You have water flowing underneath, by the way. See the blue surface of the pool. We do that nowadays, not dye in the water blue. We paint the surface. You have water flowing. Just imagine, it starts to get dark. You can turn an oil lamp there on the statue. Get a bit of wind, a bit of breeze. The flame is moving, the blue tiles of the mosaic are shining. And then, Octavius, what's that? And there he will start with the long infinite stories written by Ovid, the Metamorphosis. That's the love story between Piramo and Thisbe. Young couple, they love each other, but their parents do not want them to be together. Notice something, Roman paintings, men always have a darker tan, ladies a pale candid skin. Days in which ladies would do less social life, they would be more at home. The men are getting tanned, not the ladies. They loved each other, however, their parents did not want, so they meet in this hidden spot. She arrives there before him, but when she gets there, she sees the lion at the top. The lion has blood coming out of his mouth. Simply, the lion had just finished eating, that's why. But of course, she's afraid, and she runs away. She hides into a cave. But while she's running away, her red dress gets stuck on that tree. After a few minutes, he arrives. He sees her dress on the tree. He sees a line of blood coming out of his mouth. Mamma mia, the lion has eaten Thisbe. I cannot live without her. And he commits suicide. She comes out of the cave, sees that he is dying. Mamma mia, too. I cannot live without him. And she commits suicide too. Where have you heard that story?
Romeo and Juliet.
Exactly.
So that's a knife in her hands then.
Yeah, it's a,
Yes.
a blade.
A dagger.
I would say she throws herself on his knife, yes. Love story without a happy ending. Here we have another love story without a happy ending. I've never found one single happy ending yet in Roman or Greek mythology. But it's a different kind of love. That's love for someone. This is love for
Himself.
yourself. Narcissus. You know about him, yes? 16-year-old boy, Ovid says, was so beautiful that whoever looked at him would fall in love immediately. Men and ladies, he says, not only ladies. Romans learned quite a few things from the Greek, not only eat and lying down. It was socially accepted that a man could have a mature man could have a younger boy. And however, that reflection which makes everyone fall in love, makes himself fall in love when he sees it for the very first time at the age of 16 in the water. He falls in love of that image. But to make the long story short, he just drowned into it. These stories are called metamorphosis. Where someone dies, it transforms into something else. Diana and Actaeon, he gets transformed into a deer. He transforms himself into a flower. The yellow flower, which we still call Narcissus. That little yellow flower in the corner. Can you see where his reflection is?
On the left corner.
On the left corner. Little yellow flower. Metamorphosis in that painting, the tree. That tree makes berries. Berries are red, but Ovid says they used to be white. From that moment, with her red dress that gets stuck on it, berries will start to become red. You know what you need? Try that, Andrew, because the colours you see once you lean in is completely different from what you see from the outside. Oh wow. What did the artist do here? You know, the room is small. To try to give the feeling of making it bigger, he's painted the illusion of a garden. There's a fence all the way around. Behind the fence there are trees, there are birds, and there's a blue sky which clearly is behind the plants. To give that feeling I'm not sleeping in four small rooms, as if I'm sleeping outside under a pergola in the afternoon. And there are many Egyptian symbols in here too. Those little paintings at the top. Look at that pharaonic figure coming out of the bushes.
Oh yeah.
You see that on the left?
Yeah.
Mosaic on the floor.
There's one on the right too.
Yes. And we can tell, really, I mean this, I come in these houses every day, and we may not know their names, but you start to get to know about their psychology, who they were. What I mean, look, reasonably, the guy saved his money on the mosaic where he would have put the bed. See, there's no mosaic there. That is where you would have put the lectus, the bed. No point spending money till then, no one will see underneath that I don't have the mosaic.
Yeah.
Bedroom of someone of the genetic family, of course. This room instead would be what? Look at the plaster. Any kind of
It's a
decoration?
slave.
No, absolutely. It's a slave. Furthermore, there's the opening right into the shop. It's nighttime. Here I can choose the colours. I can play with it because in this part of the house I have happier light conditions.
Yeah.
And raise your eyes towards the sky. Look, you're sleeping under a pergola with roses.
Oh, wow.
Check that out. And it's not only this house which has a ceiling with so many details. The point is the ceiling collapses. We find the ceilings, whenever we find them, always filled with details. I do believe that was an approach which people had in the past, even in Christian churches. The dome has more details than the side wall. People in the past, they would tend to raise the eyes towards the sky more than what we do nowadays.
Yeah.
You do that for mystic responses. You do that even just to see the time of the day. We don't look at the sky, Melissa, don't even check the weather forecast anymore. What I'm trying to say, these people in the past, 100 years ago, as 200,000, they had this habit to raise your eyes towards the sky. So you bring in that, what usually you're looking at, inside and down to your environment.
Right.
When you're in bed, you look at the ceiling. Even we look at the ceiling, we don't think of doing that. There's got to be a reason why they decorate their ceilings, and many times it's more detailed on the side walls, and we don't do that.
Right.
I personally interpret it this way. Think about it, Christian churches too. You're thinking of God, so you're looking towards the top, towards the sky, and you're given to that sky. Indoor, the look of what you see usually outdoor. We do see usually, even our chapels, the domes, the sky, the clouds, the angels, and then the gods. We put in indoor what we usually see on the outside. This guy's put indoor what you would have seen if you were sleeping outside under a pergola. House of Pagius Proclus, according to some studies, merchant, or according to others, house of Crispus Panzer, an important political family in Rome. Not only the atrium, the entrance, but the second room too, and the third one are tiled in mosaic. To start off from the very beginning, the guard dog, like we just saw in that restaurant, showing a dog tied to the gate, and a dog was found in here. In this room on the right, His bones were found right under the bed.
Do you know what kind of dog it was?
No. Well, of course, we're sure no breeds are changed a lot too throughout the years. In the paintings and mosaics, you all seem the same kind of wolf. They look like wolves. Then each square has a different animal in it. Different birds, exotic animals, the lion, the peacock. Well, the peacock, you must know, that's not only something exotic. That's a sacred animal to Juno, Hera, wife of Jupiter. Jupiter had many girlfriends apart his wife.
Is this a centaur with a wing?
Centaur, yes.
He's got a wing?
Wing.
Yeah, this one.
That one, yes. Yes. Oh, sorry, I was looking at his hand, looking at the stick which he had in his hand.
Oh.
His house was getting restored too, see? On the left, the paintings of the last years were placed. On the right side, not even plaster was found. This was getting restored at the time of the eruption. This house continues in the back. We have a mosaic in the back with hippos and crocodiles in the mosaic. This house had their private baths in the basement in the back.
Oh, wow.
And in the second part of the house, there's like the second floor. And that inscription which you pointed now, it's the one which goes for the theory the house belonged to Caius Cuspian Pansa. He was counted as an aedile in the last years. He had already been mayor, and an inscription found out of the amphitheatre says that his father had been a mayor already 4 times. A powerful political family in town. Million pilgrims come here every year for the Church of the Virgin of Pompei. And twice a year there's this big event in town, May the 8th and the first Sunday of October, in which thousands of pilgrims walk in town. As they pass by every single town, they may meet stray dogs, who just curiously follow them. The pilgrims, after praying the Virgin, they're not going to walk back. And the dogs just stay here and complain. Why? They have this beautiful, safe environment, the archaeological sites, no cars, and thousands of tourists who feed them every single day. Of course, they're going to move from here. And many good souls, including St. Francis, my father, that's what I call him, St. Francis, you know, you would talk to the animals. My poor mother has to cook for not only the dogs they have at home, for dogs and cats, and they get fed by many good souls. Celsinus, Numerius Pompeii Celsinus, son of Numerius, Edem Isidis terremotum collapsum, the building of Isis, which had collapsed in the earthquake of the year 62, 17 years before. They had had a huge earthquake, which seriously damaged the town. A fundamento pies pecunia sua residuit. He built again, right from the basis, pecunia sua, with his own money. Hunc decurionis ob liberalitatem, cum esse tanorum sex, ordini suo gratis ad legerunt. This man built the temple of Isis with his own money. And for his generosity, the town councillors, regardless he was only sex annorum, 6 years old, they made him a member of the council. A 6-year-old boy became a member of the town council. You had to be 30 years old. In this case, they do an exception. And a 6-year-old boy built this. That tells us what? This boy is obviously a son of a freedman. Freedman who has a limited access to public career. No point put it in my name. May as well just put it in the name of my son. So I'm granting him a future. Indeed, he was only 6 years old. Member of the town council. Wow. Just see visibility. Look at the characters, how small they are, but his name is put right in the first line in huge big characters. Public, free. You will see inside. We will not have such high expectation from a public bath. But those days, yes, you want to make it nice because you want to make it appealing because you want them to come. And if you get washed, I'm not doing you a favor. You are doing the nation a favor. It's a matter of hygiene, of sanitation of a country. But before we go into the wash section, this is what? What shape does it have? It looks like a
pool, kinda.
Gymnasium.
Oh, gymnasium.
The open space, and that is the pool right there.
Ah.
See the swim pool? We find them in the gymnasiums, not in rich houses. Exceptionally, yes, a few cases we have, but usually we find them in the gymnasium. Open space for the outdoor physical activities, which we were talking before. And then in the baths, there's a part for men and a part for ladies, as the bath was done naked. Small baths, like the one of Julia. Put the clothes in the lockers. And there we have the cold bath. In this case, it's placed right in the locker room. steps to make it easy to go in and out. And just imagine, Melissa, you come out of there, water would be dripping off your body. That's why, look, the floor is sloping and there's a drain to collect all the excess of water that comes out. Even when you go in the water, you may have the overflow of it coming out.
Yeah.
So you collect it. Water would go along this groove, and so that would have been wet. But you ladies would have not entered from there. That's the service entrance. You ladies would have entered from that door there. The entrance to the baths, it's on Little Side Street for the ladies.
I would love to jump in some cold water right now.
Yes, that would definitely be crowded on a day like this. These are other graffiti. In my opinion, you know, not spontaneous drawings in this case, like we saw the others. More than likely done on purpose to identify certain lockers, you know. Mine is the fisherman there with the baskets, or the sailboat, the peacock. But look at that.
I tried several times to make that peacock.
That's fantastic. You can tell, see, they tried more than once, and you can even tell they lost the patience here, see? As they crossed it out.
This was no good.
Yes. See, there's no concept, as you said this morning, of cancelling of the racing. Remember that decoration which you're taking a photo right now, Melissa? We're in the field section, so you find a pretty feminine decoration. Birds, garlands, flowers.
Pretty.
Andrew, you'd see when you go to the men's section.
Yeah.
Shields, lances, ladies.
Kind of figured.
Yes. I really need it, you'll see soon. And on the other side, the fountain for the cold water. See the ceiling, as we saw in Julia's, bottom vaulted. But we always also see those grooves. They were not ornamental. Those are the grooves along which the drops of water would easily slide down. That's why the floor is tiled in mosaic. It's waterproof. Because water will go down to the ground. We don't see it, or we take quite a while before we come in. Because I do believe we don't have that habit of raising ours to the sky. Again, that's shown you. 14 sits there, down on the side walls. And it's not a matter of fact whether we can break it. That was the problem when you put the paint in there. Right. See that approach I was saying before? Of raising your eyes towards the sky.
Yeah, it's here.
There's also the beautiful that's the abundance, the female figure holding the cornucopia.
Oh.
The whole filled of grapes and pomegranates. Symbol of prosperity, fortune,
Oh, this is beautiful.
and marble. In a public building. Well, that to be honest, that's what she's what it looks like. It's just molds, you know, like making sandcastles to make the shape in the workshop. But of course, it's going to finish, you're going to get the details of the colours. And then the fridge down, the cold bath, which in the men's section has a room for itself. Look, don't go out yet. Just like the house where we saw with the bedroom painted kind of a garden around. On the left, the outside has painted a fence. The blue in the back, it's as if it was a window in front of you. There's a fountain, plants, birds, trees. As if I'm in a bath, outdoor, not in the room. And if you raise your eyes towards the sky, blue becomes darker and you'll see stars in it now and again. Oh yeah, and see the stars? They give that illusionistic feeling of going beyond the space you can see.
Oh, wow.
Just watch the back. Oh, no, not. No, not in this case, but in this case, we need closer again. Boobs. Honestly, it is. You know, 2,000 years ago, like nowadays, difference in genders expressed with a certain symbolism. Yeah. That's what it is. That's why I say these guys are just people like us. And can I say another joke? Now, this is not sure, but it's his personal interpretation. Look, the men's section is bigger than the female changing room. Is that right? Yeah. But there's less lockers. Yeah. There's more cupboards in the female section. Maybe you dress much more simple, ladies will be a bit more fancy, you need more lockers. Who knows? But it's less lockers in a bigger room. Now here the seating is different. So it was a reasonable choice when they excavated to remove the paintings and fragments of plaster which were found. But like that.